STEM adventure. Revision notes. Edexcel Physics Waves. As always, equations are key. Learn these and how to apply them. The definitions of the two types of waves are important to memorize and can be used in many questions, especially ones where you are asked to describe the differences. Measurements can be made of waves, and their properties are often shown on graphs. Here the wavelength is shown on a displacement distance graph and the time period on a displacement time graph. These graphs can represent both longitudinal and transverse waves. It is also important that you can describe what exactly wavelength, frequency, etc. mean. Some of the common mistakes in this topic include units, especially when frequency is often given in gigahertz. Waves can do a number of things at the interface between materials. They can be transmitted, absorbed, reflected, or refracted. The reflection and refraction of light needs to be understood in terms of how they change the frequency, wavelength, and wave speed. Sound waves and how they interact with the ear needs to be understood in terms of the vibrations of particles and which frequencies our ear is able to process. A lot of data to memorize here. A number of practicals and core practicals are included in this topic, with all concerning the measurement of wave properties. For waves in water, you need to know the way each property is measured. In addition, the speed of sound in solids can be measured by measuring the frequency of a metal rod, which has been made to vibrate. You need to remember that the wavelength is double the length of the rod in this situation. And the speed of sound in air. Here remember that this is only possible because the speed of sound is very much slower than the speed of light. Lots of detail here, so take some time to memorize the key sentences. Some examples of how waves are used in the real world need to be understood in detail. For seismic studies of the Earth, you need to know the difference between P and S waves and how this can be used. For sonar, waves are used to detect objects under the sea. For these questions, the key thing to remember is that the sound waves are traveling double the distance we wish to measure. So in the example above, the time must be divided by 2 before being used. Finally, fetal scanning allows doctors to image babies using ultrasound that doesn't damage the baby. The ultrasound waves bounce off boundaries in the body, and from the time the waves take to reflect back to the detector, the distances can be calculated. All this information now needs to be memorized.